And the Heels won. I thought our guys responded like I expected them to. It's an older group that has been through it, that was through it last year. But sometimes, a kick in the face can wake up, not wake up, let me use a different term, can just piss you off. And there's a difference between, playing tight and angry and playing like you got something to prove. And I felt like our guys, I could sense it yesterday at practice, challenged them a little bit before practice, and they responded well, but that's a credit to the Mac Horvath and the Tomas Fricks and the Nick Prize, and you're going to respond one of two ways when you get swept at home. You're going to pout about it, or you're going to do something about it, and I thought they responded well.
How did you challenge them? What was your approach?
Just, how you going to respond? Basically, the analogy of, what happens when, I actually used an analogy when I was working for my dad in landscaping, and you got in a bee's nest. Except what happens when you get in a hornet's nest, right? You step on a hornet's nest, they come out and they're going to sting the heck out of you. I said, we've been stepped on. Are we going to come out and fly away, or are we going to sting somebody? And, it's a type, you got to know what type of team you have too. And I just reminded them that this is when it matters most either way. And I reminded them of exactly what we did last year, what Ole Miss did last year. And I've been part of teams that didn't play well down the stretch for some reason or the other. But I also challenged them, like, you realize you have everything in front of you. Like, look at these teams we don't like to talk about who we're about to play. We like to kind of get ourselves ready. But I did map it out for them. Like, everybody you play is good. Everybody can beat us, and everybody we can beat, but we can be right where we want to be if we take care of business. You look at UNCW, you look at Virginia Tech, you look at Campbell, you look at ECU, you look at NC State, just on and on and on. So everything's right in front of you. And I wanted them to understand that I believed in them. I don't care if anybody else believes in you or not. Like, I believe in you. And you got guys in there, though, like Mac Horvath and them. I don't know if I needed to do that because I thought they would have responded anyway, but I felt like I needed to.
Talk about Mac. I understand he called a players-only meeting on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Somebody told me, my wife told me, she saw it on ESPN. And that's great, that's part of being a leader. And if he felt like that's something he needed to do, I'm sure that has helped us big time. Because when you have a leader like Matt that works as hard as anybody on our team, in the weight room, on the practice field, never takes a day off. As soon as he speaks, because Mac's a guy, a few words, he doesn't speak a lot. He got a dry sense of humor. We give him a hard time because he had to present at the Rammies last night. We didn't know if he was going to faint or not, being so nervous. But again, that's a good team over there, and obviously we punched him in the mouth first. But I felt like our guys were clearing their mind and not playing like, well, what if we lose? You can get in that mind, like, okay, well, like y'all said, somebody today on Inside Carolina, or 2 days yesterday, your RPI is lower. Like, you can start thinking about that stuff instead of just playing. And I felt like they just played today.
Quick follow up on that. When was the last time you've seen a players-only meeting in this program?
There have been them, probably without us knowing, And I think I don't think Matt meant for people to know that. I think it just kind of happened that maybe she asked him a question and Matt volunteered the information.
Does it take getting smacked in the face for some of them to realize?
I was thinking about it. It's a great question because I don't think so. I think the league is so difficult, and I still want to. I didn't think we played terrible. I thought Boston College just beat us, and I thought after Friday's game, for the first time all season, it shook our guys a little bit, and we didn't quite recover. They just played tentative, and I don't feel like they played tentative all year against Miami. They didn't play tentative. They just won 2 out of 3, and they were playing for the first time. Not we talk about hunting and going to win, go get it. They were playing not to lose, and I think that's the biggest thing for me that I want them to take from it is big deal if you lose Friday. Who cares? Like, come back and win the next 2. What happens in our super regional? What happened last year in the regional when we lost to VCU? We just moved on and we found a way to get it done.
Some tweaks with the lineup, obviously, today, and thinking back to last year, Vance obviously caught fire there in the clam spot, but for most of the year, one of the things we talked about a lot was Vance in the leadoff spot, some instant offense there where he would get on first, steal a base, extra base hit, and then Angel would drive him in quick runs early on in the game. And today you saw it where you give up the first inning run, and then Vance gets on, and then scores right away.
Yeah.
And just how much of a kind of bonus is that, especially like you said, coming off that weekend.
Yeah, I felt like now that Vance was going again, he looked really good at the plate. I felt really good about moving him back to the top. And Coach Weirs and I spent a lot of time looking at the whole season, but not just the whole season, looking at the league. Because at the end of the day, and this is no knock to anybody else we play, like our league's good. So if you look at our league stats, you look at runners in scoring position, who's coming up the most. We felt like Vandy had almost been one of our most consistent guys. We felt like Mac was doing a really good job in big situations, and driving in runs. And now Vance was hot again, and he's that fast and that dynamic. If he gets on base, he can do something Casey Cook can't do. And then we felt like sandwiching Casey in that 3 spot. You get that left-hander in there that moves the ball back-to-back. Him and Vandy are really tough to strike out. And then, Frick has been driving in runs. Stokely's coming along, and Alberto's really been starting his bat speed back. So we felt good about that and just making those changes, and we feel good about sticking to that.
Pitching-wise, Coach, did today's performances help inform your decisions for your starting rotation at all this weekend?
We're going to talk about it. I mean, right now we're going Bovair, Knapp, TBA. Now we could go Bovair, somebody else, Knapp, but that's initially what I'm thinking right now is Bovair, Knapp, TBA. The bright spot for me is I feel like Ben Peterson. I felt like he went out there and pitched like he had something to prove, and that's important when you haven't pitched for a while. Now, to give Ben credit and our coaches credit, Coach Howell and Coach Gaines, they've been working on a 2-seamer instead of a 4-seamer, and on the numbers-wise, that pitch plays much up. Instead of his fastball being one of the worst at 95, it all of a sudden becomes one of the best, and Frick was the first one to say coming in, and that stuff today is real. And Ben's a worker. He's kept his nose down. He's a good teammate, and he's going to be big for us, too, coming out of the bullpen. And you saw Carlson bounce back and take him out on a good note. And even though Carlson's in our bullpen, I don't want to throw out that he can still start for us. We did it in 11. That team went to Omaha at about this time, maybe a little earlier. We started going Patrick Johnson, Ken Emanuel, TBA. And I feel like that's probably how we're going to go right now.
Following up on Ben there a little bit, that's one thing I wanted to ask you about is that 2-seamer. I mean, you even look at tonight, I think 4 of the 6 outs he recorded were ground balls as well. I mean, to see it kind of pay off that quickly, just kind of how impressive is that?
That's where those, the new stuff comes in. I barely missed it, thank goodness, because I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I was a decent pitching coach, but we had a lot of good pitchers. So all this new stuff now, you can look at it, and Ben, he's a smart kid, and working through that, and with Manny, who does all that stuff for us, Coach Howell and Coach Gaines, that that something like that can flip in a heartbeat. But that, again, the kid's got to be able to do it, and he's got to be able to change the grip and be able to throw that pitch in the zone. So that's a credit to Ben.
Last one. Just quick. What's Patrick's timetable? Surgery was Friday, and which hand was it?
It was his left hand. Probably the earliest usually is about 3 weeks before you can play. It's a pain tolerance thing. But getting the bat speed back's not that easy. Now the good thing with Patty is he's a totally different player than Alberto. Alberto's the power. I think Patty, I'm less concerned about the bat speed. It's just a matter of whether or not he can swing without having a lot of pain. So I'm hoping the exam break helps him a ton, and I hadn't looked that far ahead. Hopefully he'll be back. Never know, that kid's an in-state kid. I wouldn't be surprised if he told me he could play against NC State. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just talking to Michael,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Now you gotta go see my daughter, right?
Yeah.
Best part of the day.
Connor, you've been named Friday starter. Does that change your mentality at all going into the next series?
I wouldn't say so. I think just being on Friday, you kind of got to set the tone for the weekend. Regardless of what role I'm in, I think I'm going to treat each week the same, just continue to work hard.
And talking about setting the tone, you guys have dropped 2 ACC series at home. You go on the road to a hostile environment that is VT. What are kind of your goals for this upcoming season or series?
just kind of stay loose. Coach Forbes talked about that yesterday in the team meeting, just kind of like playing with like our backs against the wall, because that's when last year we played our best, and I think that tonight kind of proved that once we kind of come together and play like every game's a playoff game, I think that the results show for themselves.
You obviously did make a couple Friday night starts last year as well. I mean, now kind of looking at where you're at this point in your career, I guess how would you say maybe the mentality is a little bit different, where you kind of can feel that sort of comfortability stepping in that role, whereas last year it might have been, I wouldn't say nervousness, but maybe more like amped up about it, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, I think last year being able to pitch in every role kind of gave me the ability to kind of go into this year with a way of being comfortable in each role, and luckily enough, I was able to start each weekend so far, and I think that each weekend I get more and more confident with my stuff and my ability, and I think that each week it just plays on itself, and I think each week I get better and better.
Good. Just real quick, this might kind of go off some of the stuff we talked about in the past too, but when you look at your season numbers, I mean, for as good as you've been, the strikeouts aren't really like a big thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the fact that you've been able to have that success, where you're just getting the balls in play and things like that, just kind of how's that also kind of boost your confidence a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, not having a ton of strikeouts, that means your fielders are making plays, and I think that having fielders behind me that you can count on, you can pitch to ground balls, fly balls, and I mean, having that confidence with the guys behind you makes a huge difference, and just for me, attacking the strike zone, knowing I have that defense behind me plays a huge role.
After that Saturday game when you pitched 7.1 innings and the bullpen came in and gave up some runs, how do you think that game really, with the news that Carlson is going to be moving to the bullpen, how do you think that game really, what do you think it taught the bullpen about going forward?
I don't know what that one game would have showed us. I think just a series loss for pitchers as a whole. I think it really showed us like we got to work harder as a whole, and not one person's going to win a game for us, and not one person's going to lose a game for us. Especially the bullpen, like being in there last year, it's so easy to put the blame on them when the starting pitcher comes out, or ultimately you lose a game 6-7 runs. Like it's quick to point fingers at the bullpen, but I think that not one pitcher is going to give up the lead, and not one hitter is going to win the game for us at the end of the day.
Thank you, Connor.
Yeah,
Thanks.
nice job.
Would you mind shifting to the left just a little bit?
Hey, Mac, can you tell me about the players-only meeting you called? Why did you call it? What was your point? How did it go?
Yeah, I just kind of called it because there were a few people that kind of came up to me, and we texted that night about just how much everyone truly cared about winning. And I mean, Coach Forbes is big on it. Like, if it doesn't really piss you off, then like, why are you here? Like, and so I asked the team, like, why are we here? And everyone said to win, and I was like, well, if we don't win, then like, what's so funny about that? Like, why are we joking around after a game? So I think everyone is kind of now on board with that, and then just kind of trying to keep everyone together. Just talking about what great teams have, and we made a list of them and went down that list, and we didn't have a lot of those things right now. So we're just trying to figure out what we have to do to have those things on that list. So.
You just didn't like the demeanor in the clubhouse after a loss on Saturday night? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just not even just Saturday, but like other games too. People have said stuff, and just like maybe not as pissed off as we should be. So.
Did it take getting swept for some guys to realize that part of it?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm glad it happened. Usually good teams are able to bounce back from that. You really find out, what you have after getting swept like that. So I'm glad it happened.
When you were talking about kind of some of those characteristics, I know on the broadcast, the one that was mentioned was kind of swagger in a sense. How would you say you develop swagger, especially at this point in the season?
Yeah, I would say swagger kind of just comes from confidence, and Coach Forbes talked about it a lot. Confidence comes from being prepared, so working hard in practice and in the weight room. That's kind of where it all starts. So.
Eight RBIs tonight, most since St. Francis in 2004 game. I think you've gotten your swagger. What was different tonight? You were feeling it.
Yeah, I mean, we worked yesterday, just kind of slowing our rhythm down at the plate as a team, and I was definitely a little sped up there, so working on that, and I felt really slow today, and then I actually felt like I haven't been like seeing as well, so I actually went to the eye doctor today, and my left eye I got a stronger prescription, so I don't know, that might have helped a little bit. So.
I mean, do you think it helped? Because, I mean, you can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen a little better. So.
It's a stronger prescription on your contact lenses before this game.
Yep.
What about the mood of the team after this one? We talked about Boston College, the mood, the team meeting. What's different about that locker room after this game that maybe hadn't been the case all year?
Yeah, I think everyone, kind of realizes and sees, when we all play together and are clicking, like what we really are capable of. So I think that'll just kind of help us down the road, like if we're ever down, like knowing, like in the back of our minds, we are capable of putting up a ton of runs and being good on the mound. So
I know Coach Forbes has talked about you guys finding your knockout punch. Do you think the team is kind of coming around to that idea of having that killer instinct to close down not just close games, but games like this where you put up 18 runs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he was talking to me about it a little bit, how when you don't score runs, it almost makes it harder on your pitchers. And, they say, like, it starts with pitching, but when we're not scoring, it makes it a lot harder on our pitchers. So I think that's kind of our goal offensively, is make it easy as possible for them and, like go for that knockout punch, putting up crooked numbers so it's easier for our pitchers.
Last one.
I think, I asked a similar question to this earlier on in the season, but now that we're at this point, for you guys, the nucleus of this group, when you look at the last 2 years, the late runs you guys have made, and, obviously that could be something that could be a bit of a confidence point for you guys heading down this stretch run as well. But how do you maybe not take that for granted in a sense and allow that to kind of maybe affect your psyche where, like, we have done this before, and certainly we can do it again, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, knowing that we've done it before and we're capable of doing it, but I think all the guys that have been here for those late runs, they know what it took to do that, working hard in practice, and I think that's kind of going to be the vibe every single day that we're out there practicing. So.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.